Show you how to create a fillable form in Microsoft Word. Do you want to add little boxes to a form that can tick when they're checked? Or do you want to send someone a form that they can fill in and send back without having to print, complete and scan or photograph to send back to you? My name is AD Blackman. Join me after the intro as I walk you through creating a fillable form in Microsoft Word. If you find this video useful, please hit the subscribe button below and let me know in the comments what other topics you would like me to cover. Let's do some of the initial layout. I've got just a new blank document in Word here. Let's add a title. So I'll double click in the title space and at the top of the document. Now I'm in the header. I'm going to use the example of a very basic feedback form. So let's give it a bit of a title of How Am I Doing? We'll make that bigger and center it. And double click somewhere else in the document to come out the header space. Let's add some very basic instructions, just asking them to complete the form. Now, the best way to lay out a form is in a table. So from the Insert ribbon, I can select Table, and now select the size or number of cells that I would need. You don't have to be precise, you can add and remove columns or rows later. I'll start with a 4x4 table. When I'm doing this, I tend to have one box in the table as a label asking for what I want, for example first name, and the next box along will be the field that the person completing the form fills in. You don't have to do it this way, you could have the question and answer in the same box. Try both and see which you prefer. We'll put the first name in the first box. The second box will be where the answer, the third box along will ask for a surname. Now the next row will ask for their email address and date of birth. I'll leave a blank line just to separate out the basic information from the main part of the form. Let's ask if they are enjoying this video and what other topics they would like me to cover in the future. I think we need these two questions on the same row of the table though. The quickest way to move the contents of a cell like this is to highlight the text and then just drag the highlighted text to the cell that you want to move it to. We'll have one more question where we'll have a nice big space that they can give any other feedback. So this, we probably want a whole row of the table for them to type in. To add a row to the table, right click on the last row. Select Insert, then Insert Rows below. This will add a row to the table below the point of the cursor. Okay, that's a very basic layout of the table. I'll tidy it up a little more as I go. I'll just click in the first cell that I want the user to add some information, so the cursor is in the right place. The first thing to do is add in the developer ribbon. Don't panic at the name, we don't actually need to program or type any commands. This just gives us access to those fillable fields. To add the developer ribbon, go to File and select Options. On the dialog box you need to select Customize Ribbon. And then in the right hand panel find and place a tick in the box next to Developer, and finally click OK. Once that's done, you should see a new option at the top. Click the Developer ribbon. There's a lot of advanced options on this ribbon, but the only section we need to look at is the Controls section, and specifically the left side of the Controls section. This gives us fields that we can add to the form. Let me give you a quick overview of each of them. The first two are rich text and plain text controls. They both give you text fields that you can be filled in. The plain text one will just allow basic text input. If you add bold or italics to a particular word, it will apply to the effect to the whole of the field. You also can't have a carriage returns in plain text controls. Rich text, however, can have carriage returns and much more granular formatting, such as individual words bold or italic. Next is the picture control. This would allow someone to add a picture to a form from their computer. Perhaps they need to add a picture of themselves to an application form, for example. The last one on this row is building block control. I won't go into detail on this one today. It's a sort of really advanced drop-down list. Let me give you a scenario. Perhaps we have a form that asks us to select a mentor from a list of members of staff. Using this control, I could build a drop-down that displays the full profile information, including a picture of each member of staff. When one is selected, it would insert the whole profile and picture into the form. In this scenario, each of the profiles would be considered a building block. Then we have a checkbox. We're definitely going to use this one on our form, as a lot of people ask how to add tickable boxes to a form. Then we have a combo box. This is basically a list box, but with the added benefit that you can type in an option if it isn't in the list. So on the drop down you might have apples, oranges and bananas, but the user doesn't want any of these, so they could type in peaches instead. The list box presents a list of options that you must pick from. It doesn't allow the user to type in a different option. Lastly, we have a date picker. This gives a calendar where the user can select a date. The last row contains repeating section, which allows you to duplicate controls on your form. And lastly, the legacy tools gives you some of the same basic controls that we've looked at, but these are compatible with much older versions of Word. I wouldn't use this if you can help it, as they work slightly differently to the fields that we are going to use. Notice at the moment we are in the design mode. If you start adding fields to your form but they look slightly different to mine, check that you are in design mode. So I'm by my first name. This is going to be a text field, so I just hit either the rich text or plain text control buttons. As soon as I do, you see that we have a new field added to the form. Don't worry too much that it's wrapped over a couple of lines, that's just because we're in design mode. Now we can hit the properties button to add some details for the field, like a name. It's always a good idea to give your field a name. I call this first name. Once I click OK, you can see that the areas around the field are showing that this is the first name field. Let's repeat the process for surname. So I click in the box to make sure the cursor is where I want the field to be inserted. Click either rich or plain text buttons to enter a text field. Then I click on properties to change the name. I'll call this one surname. Once more for email address. Click in the box, hit one of the text box options on the developer ribbon, then hit properties and change the name. Email will work okay for this. Now the date of birth field. We could use a text box, but a better option is the date picker. It's the same process though, so click in the box that we want the field to be in. Now click the date picker control on the developer ribbon. If we go into properties for this, we can change the name just as before, but we can also set how the date will be displayed. I'm in the UK, so I'll change the locale to UK. We like to put the day first, not the month. I'll use the first one, and with that selected, click OK. Now to tidy the table a little. I like a nice grey bar to separate the top and bottom sections, so I'll highlight this row. Right click and select Merge Cells. That's given me one cell across the width of the table. Now I can change the background colour to grey by selecting the Table Design ribbon, and then selecting a colour from the Shading drop down. Now for the Are you enjoying this video? I want a Yes No tick box option. So I click in the box first, then I'll add a tick box from the Developer ribbon. We'll jump into the properties once again to change the name. This can be the Yes option. You can change how the box looks when it's checked or unchecked with the two change buttons at the bottom, but the standard cross and empty box will be fine for this demo. Once I'm happy, click OK. Now at the moment, being in design mode, it's pretty clear that this is the Yes box. Once I drop out of design mode, the tags either side of the field will disappear, so there won't be any indication that this is the Yes field. So I need to add a label. I'll click near the box. Notice that the cursor is before the Yes tag. We need it just after, so I'll hit the right arrow key. Now I can type in Yes. Let's hit enter and repeat the process for the No box. Select the checkbox from the Developer ribbon. In the properties for the box, enter a name of No and click OK. Now we need to add a readable label for the user again. So I'll position the cursor just outside of the labels and type in No. Let's use a combo box for the What Other Topics question, so they can either select from a list or type in one if it isn't in the list. Once I'm in the box I want the combo box in, I select it from the Developer ribbon. Now I need to pay a little closer attention to the properties. First we'll give it a name, just as before. This can be Topics. Now at the bottom is where you set what options will be visible when they view the list. To add an item, just hit Add. You'll need to give it a display name. That's what the user will see, so I'll put Excel in here for Microsoft Excel. The value is only used when you are programming responses, etc. So we don't need to worry about that for this demo. Once you are done, hit OK and repeat the process for any other items that you want on the list. I'm going to add an option for Microsoft Word and Microsoft PowerPoint. Now at the top of the list we have one called Choose an Item. I want to make it clearer that they can either select one or just type something in. So let's give this a better display name. Click once to select it, then click the Modify button on the right. Now I can change the name. I'll just enter Select from below or Enter. I'm sure I can think of better English than that, but that will do for now. Click OK once you are done. Now the downside of having one at the top of the list which gives instructions is that they might actually select this option and not answer the question properly. So it's up to you if you want this one at the top. If you want to remove an item from the list, including this one, click it once to select it, then click the Remove button on the right. Now that we are done with our list, we click on OK. One more field to do, and that's the general feedback area. Let's tidy it up a little first. I'll select these three boxes on the right, merge them into one cell. And I want a fairly large area for other feedback, so I'll select all the cells on the bottom row and merge them into one. Now I won't worry about the height as the box will automatically grow if they enter more than one line of text. But of course I do need a field for them to enter the text. So I'll make sure to select Rich Text Field this time, as that's the only one that allows multiple lines of text. We'll use the Properties page to enter a name, Feedback, that will do. There, done. Now we can drop out of Design Mode. Just hit Design Mode in the Developer ribbon. Oops, I forgot to set the area next to the feedback area as grey, so let me do that. Once I have placed the cursor in the box, I can use the Table Design ribbon to select a shading colour. I use the same grey as before. There, that looks better. Now one more thing. If I send this form as it is for someone to fill out, they don't have to use the fields that I've added. In fact, they could completely change the form. We don't want this. We want to make sure that they can only enter information into the fields that we have provided. So let's lock the form so it can't be changed. To do this, select the Review ribbon. Now on this ribbon, select Restrict Editing in the Project section. This will open a panel on the right side of the window. What we need to do here is in the section Editing Restrictions. Tick the box that says Allow only this type of editing in the document. And from the drop-down box that appears, select Filling in Forms. This means that they will only be able to complete the fields that we have added to the form. Nothing else can be changed. To enable this policy, we need to click the Yes, Start Enforcing Protection button. It will ask you to enter and confirm a password. This password will be used to unlock the form so that changes can be made. It's a good idea to enter a password, otherwise anyone can come in here and unlock the form and edit it. Just make sure to keep a record of the password. If you lose it, you'll need to recreate the form from scratch, as there won't be any way to recover the password. There we go, all done. If you found this video useful, hit the subscribe button. I'm planning on a series of these. If there are topics or questions you would like me to cover, let me know in the comments below. Many thanks for watching. See you in the next video.